All right, everybody, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
I know I am. Always exciting to
Yeah,
dig into something new.
absolutely. Today we're going to be talking about the Daisho,
Ah, the Daisho.
the samurai swords.
The iconic samurai
So
sword.
these are the paired swords.
Yeah.
And I think it's fair to say, I mean, anybody who's seen any samurai movie or anime or anything like that,
Right.
these are like burned into our minds.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think we should probably start by kind of just like going over like, what are we actually looking at here?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what is a Daisho?
So, Daisho literally translates to like big small.
Okay.
And that's kind of a literal description of what it is. It's a pair of swords. You've got the daito, the larger sword, and the shoto, the shorter sword.
Okay.
And they were worn together by the samurai class.
Okay, so this is like a specific set of two swords.
Yeah.
It's not just like...
Not just any two swords.
Yeah.
They were specifically meant to be worn together.
And so you mentioned we've got the daito and the shoto, the long and the short sword. What were the actual swords themselves? Like what types of swords are we talking about?
So the daito, that's typically going to be your katana,
Okay.
that kind of iconic curved sword.
Yeah.
Sometimes it could also be a tachi,
Okay.
which is another type of Japanese sword, a little bit longer, has a slightly deeper curve. And that was traditionally worn hanging from the belt,
Okay.
whereas the katana is tucked through the belt.
Gotcha.
And then for the shoto, typically you're going to see a wakizashi, which is like a shorter sword, like a companion sword almost.
Okay.
Really good for close quarters. Or you might even see a tanto, which is more like a dagger.
Okay.
So very much for piercing.
Gotcha. So is it like they had to be like matching sets?
Yeah. Yeah, they would have matching scabbards and hilts, the whole like kind of outfit of the sword.
On koshiri.
Yeah, the koshirei, they would be matching. So they really were meant to be seen as a set.
So they're kind of like a visual statement then.
Yeah, exactly.
There's not just about practicality.
Right.
It's about like making sure everyone knows like this is a unit right here.
Yeah, it's a symbol of the samurai class.
So when did this tradition start? Like when do we start seeing the daisho popping up in Japanese history?
Well, they really came into their own towards the end of the Muromachi period.
Okay.
So think like around the 16th century.
Okay.
That's a time of constant warfare, shifting power dynamics. The samurai class was really solidifying their role in society. And, it became even more official in 1629. There's this government mandate that basically said any samurai on official duty, you've got to wear the daisho.
Oh, wow.
So it was really like their badge of office.
Yeah. So it's like mandated cool points.
Exactly.
So they've got these two swords, right?
Yeah.
Were they actually using both in combat?
Well, here's the thing. They carried two, but traditionally, they only use one at a time. Yeah. So, the samurai would train extensively in swordsmanship, learning how to use each sword effectively. But in combat, it was generally one sword at a time.
I mean, I guess that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Got two hands.
Yeah, exactly.
What, were there any like rule breakers?
Oh, there were always rule breakers.
Okay.
I think the most famous is probably Miyamoto Musashi.
Oh, yeah.
Legendary swordsman, early 17th century. He developed a two-sword fighting style.
Really?
Yeah, he was wielding both the katana and the wakizashi at the same time.
That's amazing.
Oh, it's incredible. I mean, you can imagine, like, the skill and the coordination. He was, like, the ultimate multitasker of sword combat.
Yeah, he was not messing around.
No.
So let's say the samurai's not in battle.
Okay.
They're just like walking around.
Sure.
Where are the swords?
Well, there's a very specific etiquette for displaying them.
Okay.
When you see a daisho on a stand, the katana is positioned above the wakizashi, with the hilts to the left and the blades facing up. And it's not just because it looks nice. It's very deliberate.
I bet there's a reason.
There is. Positioning the hilts to the left ensures that you can see the mei, which is the swordsmith's signature on the tang of the blade.
Oh, okay.
So it's a way of paying respect to the craftsmanship, highlighting the sword's lineage.
Wow, so they're like little works of art as well.
Absolutely.
I mean, obviously they're deadly weapons,
Right.
but there's a whole artistic element to them.
Yeah, they're very much works of art. And actually, there's some debate about which way the hilts should face.
Really?
Yeah. Some people think the hilt direction would change depending on whether it was a time of peace or war.
Oh, interesting.
Like if it was a combat situation, the hilts would be pointed towards the enemy, ready for action.
So it's like a subtle signal.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I mean, I knew that samurai swords were cool, but I had no idea that there was this much history and symbolism packed into, like, every single detail.
It's amazing, isn't it? The Daisho was so much more than just weapons. They were a symbol of the samurai class. Their authority, their status, their commitment to Bushido, their code of conduct.
I mean, so we've gone over a lot. We've talked about the specific types of swords,
Yeah.
the history behind the Daisho,
Right.
the combat techniques, the rules of engagement.
Mm-hmm.
We even talked about how they were displayed. But what does this all tell us, right? We zoom out a little bit
Yeah.
and look at the bigger picture.
Mm.
The Daisho becomes this, like, really incredible window into Japanese history and culture.
Mm.
And it makes me wonder, how did the symbolism of the Daisho evolve as Japan transitioned away from a samurai-dominated society?
That is a really great question.
Something to think about.
Definitely.
Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of the Daisho.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, it was fun.
Absolutely.
We'll catch you all in the next one.
See you then.